The spirit of June 12th is the spirit of freedom, and Nigerians should be free to express their fears and worry. Good morning and welcome to the June 12th edition of the Dailies on Echo Television International, your winning station, where we keep you updated with what is happening, in Nigeria from our Nigerian newspaper. And I'll use this opportunity to wish everybody a happy democracy. I am Sela Elisha Dashum, and I have my co-host with me here, Rachel Tanzi. Good morning, Rachel.
Morning, Sarah.
Happy Democracy Day.
Thank you, and I wish you same.
Thank you so much. And also, in the show today, we will be having, or already we have with us Ambassador Denjuma Dixon Outa, and together we will be analyzing the papers and also to look at issues that actually affect Nigeria, especially on a special day like this. Good morning, sir.
Morning, Sarah.
Thank you so much, sir, for
Thank
being
you
here
for
with
having
us.
me here.
All right.
Thank you.
And together,
Good morning.
we'll be doing all of this together. Welcome to the show again.
Thank you.
Well, before we dive through, we want to remind you that we are live on Facebook and on YouTube, so you can please do well to drop your comment regarding situations and also especially the stories on the paper. And then as we'll be, focusing on, equalism, talking about egalitarianism today on the show. So before then, let's go through the papers, and Rachel will be taking us on the first paper, which is the Daily Independent.
On the Daily Independent, why Senate President should be a Christian by Shetima. The writer flowing the story vows to woo more senators to Akpabio's camp. 52 senators-elect attend Akpabio's pre-election meeting. You can start with the details on the front page and continue inside the paper. Atiku Obi laments state of Nigeria's democracy. And the big story on Daily Independent June 12th address, let's sacrifice, I feel your pains on subsidy removal, a statement coming from the President Tinubu. The writer flowing that gives reasons why he suddenly ended fuel subsidy regime, asks citizens to guard, protect democracy like precious jewel. You can find the details on page 29. Opadokun Osagi blame military poverty over democratic backsliding. 10th House of Reps, Betara Gagdi withdraw from race back Abbas. June 12th, annulment, a tragic mistake coming from Jerry Ghana, says INEC unfair to Nigerians during 2023 elections, didn't give us leaders of our choice. You can start with the details on the front page and continue inside the paper. Serap sues Tinubu over missing $2.1 billion, 3.1 trillion naira subsidy payment. No cause for alarm over health of Akeredolu, says APC. You can start with the details on the front page and continue inside the paper. Still on Daily Independent, how red tap court held up controversial Nigeria Air project. Ministry engaged post holders on 3-month contracts only. Stakeholders describe exercise as national disgrace, want probe. At the downside of the paper, we have DSS role precludes arrest, detention of Emefla unless this is coming from Akpa Koba. You can find the details on page 4, and that's all the news on Daily Independent.
All right, let's take a look at the next paper, which is the Vanguard newspaper. Use June 12 as lesson to drive Nigerians' development with the writer Edwin Clark, IBB, Atiku, Obi, Ghana, and others. With the writer following the story says Tinubu addresses the nation today. And then we also have activists protest high cost of living. Meet at Abiola's Ikeja home. Nigerians should be crisis free. This is coming from Clark. Other stories here we have democracy is bondage in Nigeria. Incumbent must stop influencing the polls, coming from Atiku, who is the PDP presidential candidate. Gains of June 12 can deepen our democracy, coming from IBB. Annulment, a tragic mistake, coming from Jerry Ghana, which you can find inside. Another writer says, don't take democracy for granted, Tinubu wants. You can find all of that story on page 5 of the Vanguard newspaper. Other stories on the paper, we have failed transaction. Banks and others trade blames as customers agony persists. Failed transaction, banks and others trade blames as customers agony persists. You can find that on page 8. Of subsidies, school owners groan seek government assistance. You can find that on page 19. And we have another story on the financial section that says economic uncertainty, insecurity drive up life insurance. And we have the writer that says life policy rises by 18.2%. Trend to continue as economic downturn persists, coming from operators. And we have NMDPRA accuses ExxonMobil of oil theft. On the 10th Assembly Senate, we have plot to stop Yari ticket as more senators back his ambition. We have other column for sports, and on another one, we have picture story where we have Clark, we have IBB, Atiku, OB, and also Jerry Ghana. But before we move further on the papers, I just want us to look at some of the stories, especially in the spirit of June 12th. And we know when we get to cast our minds back to June 12th, we will recall that the reason why the Democracy Day was changed from May 29 to June 12th was because it was on that day that Nigerians were able to express their fears. They had the freedom. We're talking about a free and fair election. And of course, they want to focus on being equal, want to focus on egalitarianism, which is where we're talking about a society where everybody have the right to express himself. We're talking about an economy where we have equal rights. I think that is the word. Now, in June 12th, we listened to the speech of the president where he said he understands the pains of Nigeria, especially in regard to this sudden fuel subsidy removal. Of course, everybody's been paid. From the paper, we've seen that even schools are, school operators are actually complaining about that. So I want to hear your take on this equal system, freedom that Nigerians have on a day like this, talking about June 12th.
Thank you, Sally. Viewers, once again, good morning. Honestly, for us to get to know about the June 12th that we are talking about today, we must cast our minds back to those good old days. And what are those good old days that we are talking about? Those good old days that we are talking about are those days that the election in this country that was conducted, and that was in 1993, which saw the emergence of Abiola, MKO Abiola, who was democratically elected alongside his deputy, his vice president then, and then it was a Muslim ticket just as we have now. So, and during that time, Nigerians are what we can truly define as one entity. One entity in the sense that in 1993, there was no any segregation, there was no any differentiation saying that this is a Christian, this is a Muslim. Nigeria was one and one body. So it was that time in 1993 that Nigerians went to the poll, knowing fully well that those that are actually holding the ticket, MKO Abiola and Babagana Kingibe, being the vice president then, are all Muslims. But yet Nigerians went to the poll to elect them because there was no any gameplay of saying we can't elect this person because he's not our religion. We can't elect this person because he's not from our own geopolitical zone. It was Nigerians were very happy because they want to see this democracy growing. And so, when that election was truncated by the then military administration, and then it was an injury that was caused in the minds of Nigerians. So that cutting down of that democracy at that time, it was a serious setback for this country. Because a setback in the sense that where would have been now would have been far from where we are today. But because of that annulment of free and fair, the election that was described both by local and international communities as the most freest and fair election that was ever conducted in Africa. Not only in Nigeria, in Africa. But yet, for no reason, that election was cut short. So you see, if we are talking about allowing people to exercise their freedom of expression, freedom of association, freedom of voting whom they want, it was that election that actually demonstrated the true nature of free and fair electioneering. So you see, that singular act of bringing that government down was the worst thing that has returned Nigeria back to its stone age. That we started having the kind of problem that we have today, because that was what gave birth to the corruption that we are battling with today. That was what gave birth to the kind of sentiments that we have today. That was what gave birth to the kind of segregation along ethnic and religious inclines that we have today. It was what gave birth to lack of trust amongst Nigerians today. So the annulment of June 12th was a serious setback for Nigeria, if we were to look at it as far as administration is concerned.
So let's look at it. It's 24 years now. From looking at I think 24 years from 1999 when we were having democracy, and then 30 years after the June 12th episode, the MQ Abiola's episode. And then of course you make a very relevant point, which was the Muslim ticket then. But then looking at Nigeria today, we are in a very, will I say, dicey time. We are in the period where Nigeria is very, very vulnerable. It seems like Nigeria is actually sitting on a time bomb. And then we saw that the election that we're having present is still a Muslim ticket. Would you see that is relevant, because you make a mention of the fact that we still have Nigerians that are not trusting the system? Presently, even in the just concluded election, we had Nigerians that were de-enfranchised because they went to the poll. Of course, we saw Nigerians coming out in their numbers, but then still some people were de-enfranchised.
If you heard me very well, Saleh, I did mention that today we have problem. You can never compare the election that was conducted in 2023 with that of 1993. Why? It's because in 1993 there was trust. In 1993 there is unity of purpose. In 1993, Nigerians are Nigerians, irrespective of their ethnic or religious differences. We were one united country. But I did mention something. I said from the annulment, so many things started to cut in, such as what? Lack of trust, suspicion, and many other things. And the people that came in after the annulment, they set a platform for what? For corruption. They set a platform for what? This one bringing his own. And after this one is chest out, he will go and pack his own also and bring in the government. That was the beginning of the problems that we have today. And that is why when the 2023 general election that we had, the Muslim ticket came in, people started, because of that sentiment that was built in the past, people started bringing it out. Why should we have Muslim ticket? Why don't we have Christian Muslim ticket? Why? Because already the annulment of that thing, the people that continue to lead the country have not done enough to return the country into the unity, a united nation that we were. And that was why everybody wants his own to be there. To be there. So, and that is why we had a problem in 2023.
Okay, sir. We've seen how you've taken us back to why some 23 years ago, let's say 30 years ago with the MKO Abiola election, a Muslim ticket wouldn't have been a problem because we truly had one Nigeria. And now bringing it back now to 2023, we have the president-elect and his assistant. We have a Muslim ticket, people in the office. However, we are now having the 10th Senate Assembly, and that is where the bone of contention is for Nigerians, as we are seeing where people think or actually believe that there should be some balance. If we're having at the presidential level the vice being a Muslim, the president himself being a Muslim, then when we come to the Senate House, there should be some balance. How do you think there could be that equal balance as it is now for Nigerians at the Senate and also the House of Representatives?
Yeah, Rachel, honestly, this is a very vital point you are bringing out. You see, like I've said earlier, what informed the kind of agitations that Nigerians are having today is as a result of what happened. I'm still emphasizing that it's as a result of what happened in 1993, because as Nigeria it is now, many sections of the country are feeling disenfranchised. Many parts of this country are feeling they're not carried along. Many parts of this country are feeling that they want. There's a system that wants to cut them off. If you look at the trend of event and what is happening in this country, you will agree with me that definitely a segment of the country, whether we like it or not, will feel that they are not being carried along. And if we must maintain that unity of purpose that we claim to have as a country, then everyone must be carried along. And also, let me just quickly remind you, these are leaders. Sometimes they have to be very, very mindful of what they say.
True.
Recently, Rachel, you might have heard or you might have seen on social media the trending news of a one-time governor of a state. Let me be precise. The former governor of Kaduna State, El-Rufai. And the statements that he have made. Tell me, if you are from the other side, will you think that this country is marching on as a united Nigeria? So these are leaders that are coming with some sentiment. These are leaders that are coming with with an agenda, because they want to divide the country along religion and ethnic divides. So there's no how that what is happening at the Senate, that those people that are making agitation, that they should balance it, that you condemn it and say they're not making a very good distant observations. So we must find out, especially the current administration must ensure that they have done everything possible to bring Nigerians together. Mind you, it is not only Muslims that brought in this administration alone.
Of course not, sir. Yeah.
You will be surprised to know that out of the number of people that brought in this government, the majority might be Christians. So it is the responsibility of this administration to ensure that as we celebrate June 12th today, let them look back. What was the mission and vision of those people that fought for June 12th? Those people whom came and never saw government. Who came and never saw government.
Yes.
What was their mission and vision for this country? Unless we go back to really understand the reason why we are a country and we have refused to fall. Nigeria, in spite of all that is happening, the insecurity, the lack of trust, the this and that, we are still remaining together as one united nation. So what is that thing that is keeping us together? So I think the onus lies in the hands of the present leadership to truly understand reasons why they can move this country together, so that we can be more than what we are today, and be better and get better than what we should be.
Thank you very
Of
much.
course, we are better than who we are today. So let's just take the next paper. I think we're almost ripe for a break, Rachel. So let's take this one paper and then we go on break.
On Nigerian News Direct, Democracy Day 2023, Samuel Olu to attend June 12th anniversary. You can find the details on page 17. ExxonMobil illegally lifting petroleum products, a statement coming from NNPDRA, and you can find the details on page 16. NDDC promises speedy intervention on erosion ravaged road in Rivers. And the big story on Nigerian News Direct, Emefiele suspension. Fear grips public sector CEOs over possible probe and arrest as MDA suspend payment of contractors, third parties. You can find the details on page 17. Osita Ozunaso may emerge in a big surprise on Tuesday. This is on the Senate presidency statement coming from Otituju Akimpelu. You can find the details inside the paper. NAFDAC NCTC partner to fight against drug abuse, alcoholism, and others. The details can be found on page 22. 14.6 billion naira Nigeria Air. Ex-aviation minister accuses lawmakers of 5% equity share bribery. Missing crew $2.1 billion, 3.1 trillion naira subsidy payment. Serap sued Tinubu over failure to prop NNPCL defunct DPR officials. The details can be found on page 16, and that's all the news on Nigerian News Direct.
All right, thank you so much, Rachel, for that paper review. At this moment, we would like to take a break because we know you are itching to actually contribute to the stories and also the conversation here in the studio. So we'll actually take a break, and when we come back, we'll open the phone lines. Please stay tuned. Thanks for staying tuned. It's still the June 12th edition of the Dailies on Equa Television International. If you're just joining the program, and we have been looking at some of the stories on the paper and also putting our focus on an equal society where everybody have the right to express his fears or her fears and also worries. And I have Rachel with me in the studio. Thank you, Rachel.
You're welcome, sir.
Yes, and I still have with me Ambassador Danjuma Dixon. Thank you so much, sir. Alright, at this moment, we would love to open the phone lines. Our phone numbers are displayed on your screen. We'd love to hear what your takes are about an equal government. 30 years, 24 years after. A lot of things are happening in the economy, looking at our justice system, looking at our politics, looking at the health sector, looking at so many sectors that actually need equal, talking about every zone of Nigeria to be represented at one form of government or the other. So we'd love to hear your takes about this. Please do remember to turn down the volume of your TV set. It is important to us and also to other viewers because we'd love to hear what your takes are about the stories and also how we can build Nigeria to be a better home for everyone. At this moment, I'd like to take the next paper where we hope and trust for your calls to come in. At this moment, we'll take the next paper, which is the Nation newspaper. And on the Nation newspaper, I would love to take the stories with a big story that says June 12th. Why we must defend our, or why we have a call. Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
Hello, good morning. I'm Sam. I'm calling from Buhari.
All right, Mr. Sam,
I
go
want
ahead,
to
please.
contribute to your Democracy Day's paper review. Greeting to your guests out there. My take is on the on the elections of the Muslim tickets. Your guest has done justice to the discussion vis-a-vis the Babagana Kingibe's and the Abiola's ticket of 1993. We must agree that post 1970 war, all the effort in Nigeria has been to integrate all of us. A lot of programs such as the NYSC, the Federal Character Principle, and of course, even the educational-led disadvantaged state were all bringing into integrators, be able to take care of those who are weak in one thing or the other. But you can see that after the 1993 election, when the Nigeria was more integrated, there were less issues of bragging rights in views of religions and what have you. Nigeria has gone to a position whereby people believe using advantage of number to suppress the rest. And again, we should also understand when they say no, those of us who are in the middle belt were disadvantaged. Most of the things they are done, we are overlooked. If you look at sharing the resources of this country on the basis of number, which our brother up north has in, is changing the whole dynamics of the integration processes. Hello. So
Yeah,
we were trying to say that, look, whatever you are doing, you should be able to look at your own brothers and say, look, this country, we must all be this thing. Build an inclusive government that belongs to everybody, not exclusivity. If you look at what the pronouncement in which they said we are more than each other. You look at in the north, you have 60 million Christians. Does that mean that none of this is able to be a vice? We cannot continue in this trajectory. And so I conclude that the Muslim ticket is not in the interest of all. And going by what our Rufai has said, it's not a good in this country. We are becoming more divided than we are. And the whole principle after the war to unite us is now feeling like a pack of cards. Thank you. I do have a great discussion.
all right. Thank you so much, Mr. Sam. I don't know if you'd love to react to that, sir.
Yeah, you have said a lot on what I've earlier mentioned. You see, the problem that we are having in this country is that every part of this country wants to see that things are brought to them to themselves. The North is struggling to see that the rule over the other parts of the country and vis-a-vis. So, but when you look at it critically, Nigeria must return to where we came from. The founding fathers of this country, if we look at the events that actually before independence, they struggle. They never asked themselves whether you are a Muslim or you are a Christian. They were working together. The Akintolas, and all the ones that we have, like the Tafawa Balewas, and others, they work together to see that they built a united Nigeria. But when you see the kind of leaders that we have today, you begin to wonder what do they actually want to achieve? Is it working for the unity of this country, or they are working for themselves? And only God will help us in this country.
Of course. Well, let's continue with the Nation newspaper, where we were looking at the big story that says June 12th. Why we must defend our democracy by Tinubu, with the writer expect better deal from the judicial reform has started. And then Abiodun's sacrifice shouldn't be in vain. You can continue to read more of that story in the paper. Emifele's exit and the fireworks before suspension. You can read that story on pages 2 and 5 of the Nation newspaper. My Nigerian Air story by ex-minister Sirika. You can find that story inside the paper as well. We have other stories here that says subsidy palliative, more buses for Oyo State, free ride for pupils in Kwara State. You can continue to read more. Downside, we're still having on the 10th Senate support the progressive. A lot of stories, especially regarding the Senate president. And we know the Senate presidency. And tomorrow is finally the day of reckoning for them, because of course I know a lot of fingers are being, I think on Saturday we had the last validatory session of the Senate where they were looking at one or two things. Now Rachel did mention a very relevant point about how are we going to make this equal. Of course, we're seeing even the Vice President Shetima is saying that a Christian should actually take up that position, because it's only fair that we have equal rights, because nobody's more Nigerian than the other, regardless of your race, regardless of your religion. But we're looking at people who are competent. I mean, we saw the papers previously, other papers where we saw some ministers coming out to say they didn't really have an idea what they were going into. And so we're looking at the Senate president, sir, where he knows what it entails. Taking everybody. Mr. Sam make mention of the fact that the middle belt are always been sidelined when it comes to talking about the northerners. And we saw that even though they want to be represented, right now the struggle is now between either the south-south or the southeast. Now, if we're looking at an equal system, so how do you think this can be equal? Because of course I know that it's not going to favor everybody, but then we're looking at where every zone of Nigeria is equally represented, so that they have the right to express whatever fears and worry they are having in regard to when we're talking about the spirit of June 12th.
Sally, in this country we will have what we call is it something character, where people are given either appointments based on their geopolitical zone, so that they can balance their own zone in the federal character. Okay? So if we have that as a system of balancing, now look at it. We're talking about equal right and good representation. If we want to have a government that everybody is part of that government, it is fair for every zone to be represented in the governance. Not only just sending their own representatives, but also to be known as leaders of the government that we're talking about. And what is that government that I kept emphasizing? It's Nigeria. Nigerian government. We have the president of this country, who is from a zone, a particular zone. We have the vice president, who is from a particular zone. Let me be very specific. The president is from the southwest, right? Then the vice president is from the northwest. And then we people that are jostling for the next positions that we have in this country as the key positions is the position of the Senate president and the Speaker of the House of Representatives. Sure. Okay, if we have this from these zones, now from which other zones are left out? The North Central are left out, isn't it? And then we also have the Southeast are not represented here. So it is fair if a government that wants to actually be established on justice and fairness to have representation, people that will lead from these other zones that are not there. And do we have people that are contesting that are not from these zones? We do. So let us look at it for competence. We will look at them, who are the people that are contesting for competence. If you take Senate president and give it to another northerner, is that fairness? Is there any justice in that? There's none. Whether you are from North Millennial, North Central, North West, Northeast, once that position is given to another northerner, honestly, as far as I'm concerned, there's no fairness. The Senate president, if we want to promote that fairness in governance, it must have to go to the southeast. That is my position. Either southeast or south-south. So this position of the Senate president, if there's anybody that is being, I understand that Akpabio, who is from the south-south, right, is also vying for this position. It is fair and just to zone it to that zone, either southeast or south-south. And from this, from the House of Representatives, it is also fair and just to allow people from the North Central to produce somebody who lead the House. But anything short of this, it will still breed another problem. But you know how politicians are. Tomorrow, by tomorrow, every politician must have gone, because that is when the whole interest will end. Because like what really outplayed during the Eighth Republic, and where Saraki emerged as the Senate president. It was not what the government of the day wanted. They never wanted Saraki to become the Senate president. And Saraki was from the ruling party. But what Saraki did, he joined forces with the opposition. And the opposition gave him a massive support. So what the government were thinking that will come into play is not what they saw. Because their choice candidate then fell woefully. And so Saraki emerged. So that is my fear. I'm afraid. You may be hearing that today they will be saying maybe the whole senators are behind Akpabio, the whole senators are behind Ojikalu, and tomorrow you see a different thing. Thing.
Because we had articles saying that they should be prepared for a surprise.
Good. So I appeal to the incoming senators for us to move as a country. Let them ensure that there is fairness and there is justice. Let this position be given to those who don't have it now.
All right. So we've seen, in line with what the topic, rather the theme of our discussion today, which is an equal government, and we've mapped out how you've clearly mapped out how, if there should be a balance in the governance of the country, each zones to be represented. We've seen what zone is represented by the president, the vice, and now how there should be a balance in the Senate and also the House of Representatives. However, with what democracy stands for, it's a system where the people are being heard and the people are being taken care of. So it's not only about voting the right people into power, but making sure that the people that have been voted have also listened back to the people. And then we are having a statement, and I'm taking us to fuel subsidy removal and then the pains and the hardship of Nigerians as it is now. And we have a statement coming from the president where he is saying he feels our pain. Now, the question for me is that can key office holders in position feel the pains of Nigerians when it comes to basic facilities, basic amenities? Because when we want to have an equal system where everybody gets access to basic amenities and facilities, it means the standard of a primary healthcare, a healthcare center in the Federal Capital Territory should be the same standard in a village somewhere in Plateau State. And we can talk the same for education. If we have the same standard for our public primary schools, it should be the same in every part of the country. And we can bring down to every part. We can bring that down to every part of the government. Now, how can the government of Nigeria get to that place where the standard of everything that the people who have voted you into power, the standard of what we consume will be equal? Because if your government don't make that available for the people, then we're not having, then I think democracy in a way has been defeated or not playing out as it should be. Because if it is for the people, then I should be able to smile as a Nigerian under whatever administration or governance.
Yeah, Rachel, honestly, what you are saying is the right thing. I actually listened to the speech of Mr. President this morning, and then giving reason to why he has to remove the fuel subsidy. And I think, honestly, I am one of those people that have actually been against this scam called fuel subsidy. Yeah, I have seriously been against it. Why? Because if you know how they are siphoning Nigerian resources in the name of this subsidy, like the president did mention in his speech, it is only some few cabals that have been managing what we call fuel subsidy. It is not for the benefit of Nigerians. But they go in the it's just like me and you say, okay, we are going to the presidency to go and ask for something, but my name is a northerner, okay? We are going in the name of a northern elite, okay? And I will carry all of you. You are from North Central, you are from Northeast, the other person is from the Northwest. And when we go there, these are northerners that are coming to beg for something. And then the presidency will say, okay, North, take yours. And then they give us our own portion. Then we'll come back and say, this thing was given to the North too. You will say you are North Central. You will say you are North East. They didn't mention anything North East or North Central. It's for the North. And it is only those people that will have the benefit. That is exactly what has been happening with this thing we call fuel subsidy. However, I faulted the way Mr. President actually went about removing the fuel subsidy. Like many Nigerians that are complaining, he would have the government that we have today is barely less than a month. It was sworn in on the 29th of May.
Yeah.
And today, what is today's date? Today is 12th. So it's not up to a month. So you can see he would have settled down and actually look at what does Nigeria need at this time if actually he must remove the fuel subsidy. Put those things in place. Okay? But gradually you begin to work out how you can withdraw the subsidy completely. But that was not done. That is the area so many of us are, faulting Mr. President for the steps he has taken. But ordinarily, the removal of fuel subsidy is okay. And like I've said, I've listened to Mr. President's speech this morning. He has a lot of things that he wants to do. But you know, it's one thing in Nigeria, in this country that we call Nigeria, it's one thing for us to have a policy, and it's another thing for the implementation of that policy. So you can see government with sweet, as if they bring what they want to do for this country, as if you should just garnish it with just something and then start eating it. So sweet, tasting so good, having so great aroma. But when it comes to implementation, that is where they fell woefully. I pray that what Mr. President have just said that he's going to do with this subsidy is exactly what he's going to do. We're talking about democracy. It's government of the people, for the people, and by the people.
Yeah,
so if we are talking about government, the government that we have is for the people. The government is by the people, and the government is for the people, and the government is what? So we must, the citizens out there at the grassroots must feel the impact of this governance, must feel the impact of the subsidy. In terms of electricity supply, they must feel the impact of the subsidy. In terms of availability of food, they must feel the impact of the subsidy. In terms of good governance, good roads, linking everywhere. The kind of road we have, Abuja should also be seen in Jos. The kind of buildings that we have in Abuja should also be seen in Auka and every other village that we have in this country. So that is where Nigeria will now smile and say, we have equal opportunity to governance.
Thank you so much, sir. You said a lot, and we're actually, running out of time. I wish we could continue this conversation, but I hope that our viewers have actually got to one or two lessons, especially regarding the lessons of the June 12th. And Rachel, really, thank you so much for doing this with me.
You're welcome, Sarah.
Yeah, thank you so much, sir, for making yourself available on a very beautiful day like this.
Thank
It's
you,
really
Sarah.
grateful, sir.
Thank you.
All right, and to caller, Mr. Sam, who called in to air his view, we're truly grateful for that. And to every, talking about every Nigerian, we just want you to know that when we're talking about an equal system of government, that is the hallmark of democracy, where everybody will be represented, and we hope that the government will actually take its people along as they rule this country. Thank you so much to all our callers. Thank you to the crew members and every other person. Happy democracy and have a great day.